Yes, greetings to you all in the best of salutations. I want to say welcome to, on behalf of UB Blake National Jazz Institute, Culture Center, Common Humanity Mission, marching forward in the midst of a pandemic, breaking barriers while moving toward healing. We have with us Brother Amir Muhammad, the founder of African American Islamic Heritage Museum and the author of 6 books. Amir will bring awareness to the Islamic history and influence and the totality, well-being of health and stability of the community. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Wa alaikum salam, my brother.
Yes, I want
Peace and love to you and your audience.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to start off with this, with the Al-Fatiha opening. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, praise be to Allah, the Lord of the world, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the Master of the Day of Requital. Indeed do we serve, indeed do we beseech for help. Guide us on the right path, the path of those upon whom thou hast bestowed favor, not those upon whom wrath brought down, nor those who go astray. Yes. I'm going to come from a book that was written, the Holy Quran, commentary, selected verses by Amir Muhammad. As I open up with the Al-Fatiha, those who go astray, in the book, Imam said this, says the Holy Quran refers to them in this way, because it was the early founders of the Christian church who is seeking a way out of their religious confusion in Jerusalem, took on foreign ideas from pagan thought. They came up with a kind of answer or an argument against Jewish ideas in the Jewish thinking at the time. They went astray because they did not seek out the original way, but they sought to come up with something new. In forming something new, they introduced many idolatrous or pagan ideas into the religion. Though they went astray, they are not accused of going astray intentionally. If they were accused so, they would have been called those who rebelled. They were seeking a way out of their problems and out of their confusion. They did have faith in God, and they were looking for a right way, but they did not rely on the established truths. Now, the question is, people are seeking a way out of their problems. How does the Quran help people, those who seek out of their problems, to solve their problems?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. You know, the Quran is a book of a word of God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. It is his revealed word. And what it does, it gives example of prior Judaic stories, Christian stories, and stories during Prophet Muhammad time, stories to help develop character. Where that you one thing that you talked about the Jewish people in part of your saying, you know, one thing where that I learned with them is that with the Quran say they take pages. Well, one page of lessons that I've see that they teach their people is their approach to, like, they took the story of Goliath to help build character, you know, to rise above the inner or the paganistic ideas or concepts like Santa Claus coming down the chimney, the Easter egg bunny eggs, other stories that they tell us as fairy tale stories. We believe in these concepts, the tree, and the fire and the lights. All these are paganistic rituals, but the story and the message of the Quran, like today, is a day is the 19th, and for many of my Christian brothers, this is the day of ascension of Jesus' body, him ascending in the body. Uh, 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 and so what that story means is that that we can ascend. We all have that capacity. The Quran, you ask, what does the Quran do? The Quran builds that moral character, that moral consciousness to help that human being to ascend, to rise into a higher consciousness, to rise above the gravitational pulls of the flesh or the material world or vanity or other urges that we're confronted with. That Quran provides that guidance, that word. We were taught as Christians what it says. First it was the word, then the word took on flesh. So same thing with that Quran. There's many words in there, many stories, many words to stimulate that consciousness to become more obedient and thankful and grateful. The process of the Quran also gives you stories and ideas how to do. Like I was taught through Elijah Muhammad, that he said that Islam is mathematics. Mathematics is Islam. In that sense, the couple of lessons I learned from that. One is that Islam is applied science that has formulas, that you have to apply rituals and formulas in order to grow, to ascend into a certain consciousness, into a certain awareness. They say that one part of the opening of the Quran, you said, you're Al-Malik. People could dicker or reflect on that name, Yahweh Malik, who is the sovereignty, to take sovereignty, have sovereignty over you, or have take sovereignty over your vision, take sovereignty over your heart, take sovereignty over your hearing and vision. In other words, sacrifice. Jesus represent, and Moses, and Muhammad, they all represent the human, and Abraham represent that human being has to be willing to sacrifice, die so they can live, to ascend, to rise above the materialistic pulls and concepts of the world. That's what Quran helped do.
Yes,
Sorry to
sir.
go off.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. It says the Quran's mission is to advance the process of freedom, and it is for the human intellect and rational potential. We talked about potential earlier. You cannot enslave a man's will or potential. Now, it goes on to say, we know that the mission of God's word in human life and in society is to advance the process of freedom. What's your take on the word freedom itself? Because it has the word freedom and it has the word like a dome, and also has the word doom. What's your take on that?
I just want to first say that there's more than one take. What my mother said, there's more than one way to skin a cat. Okay,
Yes, yes.
Moses, when he struck the rock, there's 12 strings that came out. So one and an onion has many layers to it. Okay, so one impulsively freedom comes to me is that I'm a free man. I'm a free spirit. As a human being, I'm not captured or enslaved from the false ideas and concepts that this society perpetrates. I'm not enslaved by winds of emotions. I'm not governed by that. I try to govern. Take the example of Abraham, which the Quran brings about. Whereas Abraham was a prophet, where he rationalized, he reasoned things out. When it came to understanding and worshiping God, he first worship stars. These little lights, these little movie stars, basketball stars, all kind of stars.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yes.
We worship these, but these stars are nothing but illusions. And then Abraham realized they was nothing but an illusion. They had declined.
Mm.
He said, this can't be my God. Then he went to the moon. You know, those things that reflect. You know, moon also reflect the women, but reflect society. And then when he saw that, when it came to his fullness, and then he saw his decline, he said, "Oh, this cannot be my God. I'm greater than that."
Mm.
You know, then he saw the rising of the sun. You know, then these are your little ministers and sheikhs and everybody. You know, God, your relationship with God. It's the Quran says that Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. You know, you have a relationship with God. If every prophet, they had a relationship with God. You know, I was reading the Quran about Esau, you know, and his disciples. When they was asking him, he said, "Oh, pray to your Lord. Oh, Jesus, pray to your God. Ask him for a meal. Provide us a meal that we can, all your servants can eat." And so what Jesus do? He prayed to his God. You know, so he let you know there was one greater than. He knew there was one greater than him that he prayed to. And so, but he said we have to die so we can live. Abraham, he was willing to sacrifice his son. Moses had to make different sacrifices. All of them. You know, you see there was a level of sacrifice, and then there was also a point where they went to a cave. You know, Moses took time out in a cave. Uh, uh, Moses took time out in the cave. Uh, 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 Jesus took time out in the cave. Muhammad, all your prophets took time out to the cave. So what is this message? You know, take time out. They call you man cave or your woman cave. You know, we're coming out of this corona. There should have been a time that we should have had some reflection about our relationship with God.
Yeah.
You know, and the Quran gives you the guidance and can give you some examples. You know, how to be kind, how to be charitable, make you rise above, get you to struggle with the inner struggle, the inner growth. Get you in the Abrahamic thinking, to get you in that Joseph thinking, Yusuf's thinking, to get you into that Suleiman thinking, and the Abraham thinking, and all that is being rational. How to become a builder. You know, what the Quran stimulates and encourage self-reliance. And then you got that concept. There's two types of thinking within a person. You know, one either they think materialistic or they think very spiritual, you know, or idealistic. Some would say.
Mm.
And a lot of us fall into the one of the group of those characters. So the Quran gives us guidance. It says in this book is guidance, sure without doubt. And after we prayed, after that opening chapter, we prayed to Allah for guidance. He said, okay, here. He said, here, this is in this book is guidance, sure without doubt, to those who believe and do good and exhort one another the truth.
Yes.
You know, so the Quran encouraged that, and we if we follow that, those paths, those lessons, and seek true understanding, you know, we can ascend. This is a time for all human beings to ascend their consciousness, to rise, to take time out, to go in their inner cave, inner self, reflect and bring order back to your own human self, your own priority. This is time for us to take that reflection because we're coming out the cave. You know, so now what we're gonna do? We can't let the winds of emotion blow against this house. There's quiet time that you develop, that relationship that you develop with your Lord through this pandemic. Don't lose that focus. For those that work on it, those that haven't, work on it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good stuff. It's like coming out of your mother's womb, you know, into this existence. But that relationship that you and your mother had, that's before, yeah. But
I
yeah,
hear you, man. I
yeah,
hear you.
yeah. So it says that people of truth, a Muslim is a person who uses his intellect to conform his life to the commandments of Allah. So that person fulfills the purpose of his life and thus is in a state of Islam. Could you elaborate on that?
Man, I mean, what? I mean, that is the truth. You know, know ye the truth will set you free. I
Yeah.
mean, I can say that I can maybe say it a little different way
Yeah.
where that helped me. you know, one, one, one of the ways, because I'm on the spirit of ascension. You know, this is
Mhm.
their body, Christ ascended,
Right.
fullness, body, everything. So it's a sign of the consciousness, spiritual.
Right.
Where that, uh, 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 I lost my thought right that second, brother Kevin. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So talking
Uh,
about on the body on the it's this time of ascension. You know, you're trying to rise above something. You know, consciously.
yes, but that was the point that I was trying to go to. On the that wasn't the
When I said we said it was truth. When I said a Muslim is a person who uses his intellect to conform his life to the commandments of Allah, so that person fulfills the purpose of his life and thus is in a state of Islam.
yes, and then I said I was going to give an example of it in different paths. Okay, and that's pardon me, forgive me. And quickly is that one of the examples is that we was taught as Christian. The prayer was, our Father, hallowed in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come here on earth
Mm,
as it is in heaven, here on earth. Thy kingdom come. That we should pray for to have God's kingdom to come. So that kingdom is that when we walk in that Christ consciousness,
mm,
you know, and in those actions, in those words, we become one with us and
mm,
reflect within us in a charitable way. You know,
mm,
there's many ways and many guidance.
mm,
And the Quran make it easier. It gives you guidance about being charitable, being kind. You know, when the Christian value say good, that good Samaritan. Okay, and with my Jewish brother, and it encouraged to be what eye for eye, you know, tooth for tooth, you know, not eye for a whole tribe,
mm.
not an eye for a whole community, you know, it's eye for eye, man, but then it encourages it's better for us to be more just, you
Yes.
know, it's time for us to be more just, more fair. You
Yes, sir.
know, we're going this society. You know, they say that Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter, Muslim lives matter, women lives matter, Palestinian lives matter, Canaanites matter. You know, all life matters. All people that are not free. You know, this is what we talked about freedom. You know what it meant to me. You know, freedom and my family on my mother's side. You know, the earliest personality ancestor I could find here in America, and who had a Muslim neighbor that didn't live far from him. His name was Thomas Hawk, but my ancestor's name was Isaac Freeman. He was born free
Mm,
in Halifax, Virginia.
mm.
You know, in 1788. Let me back up. Let me at least say 1798. I don't have the information in front of me, but I know at least by then. They was born free. So I had that spirit of being a free man, a free thinker. You know, the other story that raised me that I come and use as a tool, you say that I'm a Christian soldier marching on my Lord. You know, remember that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah,
I had to
yeah.
march
Mm,
to
I
bring
remember.
about things.
Yep.
The other thing is the Jewish people had Jacob before they came named Israel. You know, Jacob had to go on jihad. He had to struggle within his own self. That Israeli means one who battled with the devil and won and conquered. Battled himself, conquered himself. He came to Israel. You know, a soldier of God. You know, we say I'm a Christian soldier. When the Muslims say that they call that word, they say it may sound bad to some, but say Hezbollah. They say they want to be a friend of Allah. You know, so it's that same spirit, that same concept transcends all faiths, all
Yes, sir.
people that want to do good, be a good Samaritan, be a
Yeah.
good believer, giving charity. The best of us is most dutiful to the community.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's like live a free, fair, dignified life, you know, and doing so a stress-free as much as we can lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? To
Yeah,
maintain,
yeah,
yeah,
really,
yeah,
really, you know,
yeah,
because
yeah,
stress can kill, man.
yeah, man.
Stress can kill. You
Yeah,
know, this is what a lot of it comes mind over matter.
yeah.
Okay. Uh, 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 Everything that you see, everything physical, everything the material thing you see, man, somebody created. It came out of somebody's mind.
Yes, sir.
Mind over matter. I think, therefore I am.
Yes,
We
sir.
have to believe these things, understand these things.
Yes,
You know, one
sir.
thing I learned, man, the earth, then with Elijah Muhammad. So I transcended with him. When he taught me was, he said, surely I turn myself to thee, O Lord, trying to be upright. To him who originated the heavens and the earth. I am not the polytheist.
Right.
Surely my prayers, my sacrifice, my life and my death are all for thee, O Lord, Lord of all the worlds. No associates thee. This I am commanded. I am those who submit. Thou the king, there is no God but thee.
Yes.
This is I am commanded. And I am those who submit.
Yes.
It reinforced. They had a community where we worked as brothers. We worked as a network. To build a bond. We sold that fish. We sold the paper. We sold the bean pie. Uh, 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 and went to classes together and learned together. Uh, 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 those rituals help reinforce to bring about a certain spirit of freedom for that human being. One of the best, strongest freedom that a human being can achieve is to be able to become self-reliant on the self, the energy that God gave them, the power that God gave them, their ingrained innate energy that God's given one. If it's painting, if it's singing, if it's dancing, if it's instruments, if it's thinking, if it's talking, if it's God being whatever. And no human being is limited to one thing. Moses struck the rock and what? 12 things came out. So we have many talents, but if you don't use those talents, there's the opposite side of things. There's positive and negative, cause and effect. I think, therefore I am. So the Quran helps keep your mind on the right thinking way. It's important to humble your thoughts, humble your heart, so that you can quiet your soul. This is why it's important to meditate. Some say dhikr is in prayer. Take time out. Let your soul quiet your soul. So in quiet your soul, you can reflect better. Quran encourage early morning time. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Quiet reading time, quiet meditating time, quiet inner time. Before you get busy out into the world, because you get busy out in the world, man. It's everything you could get in, man. To get in Salat al-Thur and Salat al-Asr, because the challenges of everyday life. So the human being has to learn to work harder, to sacrifice. Quran also says that turn your qibla. You turn your qibla is like change your qibla is change your focus, change your attention, turn your attention to Allah, turn your qibla towards Allah. And so that means give your focus. Don't watch like all those TV shows that consume all your time. Break camp. Fast break. Turn your attention. Don't watch listen to all that music. All the time. Anything that take too much of your attention, man.
Yes, sir.
Break.
Yeah.
Break.
Yes, sir.
We
You on it
call it
because
jihad. Struggle with it,
yes, sir.
battle with it. Jacob did. That's why he came in Israel. He had to win the battle, so we got to win the battle.
Yeah, I like in that term Israel, which means God is real. But hey, Elijah speaking Elijah Muhammad. I've heard Minister Louis Farrakhan, is known as the Honorable Louis Farrakhan as well. He said that Elijah Muhammad said this, and I shared this with Elijah Muhammad, great grandson or something, Sultan or something. He said that vision stems from the source of one's thinking. That's a serious thing. Vision.
Yeah.
And in the book that was written, The Paradigm Shift, it said this: public schools, internet, televisions, radio, print media, and other programming outlets institute a process which puts great emphasis on integrating certain functions and habits into the makeup of the respective recipient, a nurturing of some sort. Contrary to popular understanding, there is a certain determination serving as underpinning, we are taught the fundamentals of what is to be considered character traits of who's normal. In other words, we are taught how to act. In the society in which we live, through media, press, and television, are we becoming nurtured by their traits and their habits, and they are teaching us how to act?
Hell yeah! Come on. Really. Look, let me tell you something, man. Look, my father told me. It wasn't, hell, this was in the 1960s, man. I used to watch the show Father Know Best.
Yeah.
And what was Father Know Best? Dr. Welby or Doctor, it's not the doctor show, okay? When the daddy was home.
Yeah.
When the kids come home, the daddy was home,
Yeah.
Look. So my father, I just look for my daddy being home. Hell, he had 6 kids he was trying to feed. He had to work. My mama was home.
Yeah.
But I was looking for him. That's what I saw on TV.
Yeah.
And he told me, boy, don't let that stuff pollute you.
Yes. 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 Yes.
There's so many other things, man. I used to work in a movie theater back in the 70s when Shaft, Coffee, and those karate pictures would come out. I would watch people come, not all people. I would watch, especially on the karate show one. People come out and get in the alley and go do the karate kick. Whatever Bruce Lee, whatever do with the kick. I watched the dude come on the aisle, and then with the karate gear, then you had the platform shoes and the hats. Come on, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I remember years ago, one of the things Imam Muhammad did when he first came in 70, 75, 76, he told us to read this book, Subliminal Seduction by Brian Wilson Key, where he said that how they use imagery to speak to the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
So this man came in to teach us. He awakened that experience, that idea, that mind, that idea, that free spirit. You talk about the freedom. It's the freedom to think without the gravitational pull of this material world, or the freedom to think without the influence of the academic Western world ideas and concepts. Free, independent thinking is important, but that the Quran helped develop and nurture, where it creates this environment that you take in everything. You can take in all this different knowledge. So the Earth moves at what, 1,937 miles per hour. That's fast, and it's standing still. But yet, in this movement, it's moving from right to left, which we're taught to make and going in the Kaaba, right to left. Or when you want to go in the cave, take time out, go right to left, go inside you. Take time out to go inside you to reflect on yourself, okay? And learn to attract things. Ask Allah to be able to attract things. And I've heard this other guy, this Eastern thinking guy, in the 80s, I believe. His name was Bagwan Rashnish. This dude, man, had a lot of Europeans loving him, man. He had palaces, he had Rolls Royce, he had everything. And it was the power of faith, the power of mind, But then it also showed you example of how the human being can go off. And this was those stories about Abraham not worshiping nobody with no son, no minister, nobody that God's given no great light to. That light only shined for so long. Then that human being's coming back out. And so we're taught not to worship those things. We worship maybe that blessing, that light that's coming out, that reflection that you may see, but not to worship that. That Allah said He's closer than us than our jugular vein. So the most important thing, that the whole Quran is trying to teach us, to all the prophets and everything, that He's one God. Say I'm one God. I am what my servant who think I am. And within that book, for me, I can say that the Quran teaches like the book of David, the book of Psalms. It teaches prayers of love, prayers of faith, prayers of calling on God. And it teaches like the book of Proverbs. It teaches books of lessons and of stories. and some of the books of the Old Testament, you know,
Mm-hmm.
those type stories,
Mm-hmm.
it teaches, you know,
Yeah.
we're like, one of the stories is in the Quran about Yusuf, Joseph, you know, uh, 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 there's many stories about it. Matter of fact, there's one African guy pointed out how one story in the Quran is called Yunus. And Yunus is really it's a father story. It's a story of a father. His cry about the influence and the problems that his children, his boys went to. You know, so but out of that story, you hear the story of Yusuf. You know, Yusuf being misused and being jealous of by his brothers, and then put into a well and sold into so it could be sold into slavery. You
Mm-hmm.
know, uh, so he was sold into slavery. You know, but within that slavery period, he was also challenged with sex. You know, the lust. You know, which many of us males and now there's females. The society helped breed that genie, that monster. You know, that sex cell. They promote. You know, so that the human being can take time get oxygen to their brain.
Well,
You know,
I've learned this here is that a there's a term, a clinical term called a sadist, um, which means that one who displays instability becomes a sadist, and a sadist becomes very sexually aggressive, because it shows his job, if I may use the word his, want to inflict pain and injury. He takes pleasure in that. So when we are interacting one with another, as far as male and female sexually, we want the pleasure, but we don't want the responsibility. It is like, as Imam said it before, like when we engage in a woman with a hard on, he says we are putting our heart into a woman. You know what I'm saying? So all these things play a part when it comes to the nurturing and development and the maturing fact of who we are as being what we call human beings.
you know, yeah, you know, I'm telling you, man, you know, I hear you, bro, but
Yeah,
there's a higher level of sex
yeah.
as well, that or love making, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that when it's comes spiritual, it comes more like a melting of a butter, melting of the soul,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
melting of the spirit, the oneness of the spirit,
yes, yes,
the blending of the spirits, which produces a healthy energy, you
yes, sir.
know. There's that when it's on the positive side. You got, you know, you got to ascend. This is the day of Jesus. They say that Jesus, and I just learned this, you know, really on this calendar, you know, that today, the 19th, is the day of ascension of Jesus, Esau, in the body. Okay, so then, so that means that if he ascended, his body went with him, that his material things went with him. So in other words, we could ascend, we could rise
Yeah.
our material urges, our physical urges, our material urges. We could rise them and purify them
But
in a
that's
pure thought mind.
yeah,
That they come out more pure.
yeah, you own it because what happens is that the I realize about in ancient Kemet they call someone I call them Shu, the god is Shu or the god Shu, and we know that a shoe we put on our feet. You know what I'm saying? But the shoe is shaped like a arc. You know what I'm saying? And we know that it says about in the biblical sense that Noah, and I think of Noah, I think of going upward. North going upward, and the arc of protection. You're grounded on this side and you go up and you come back grounded on the other side, and we see the image of McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? So they do about go ahead.
Yeah, no, you might,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
God say he sent signs. No, I'm
yeah,
saying
yeah,
now for me,
yeah.
when you go with the story about Noah,
Mm,
you see different, once again, you see different shades of the
mm,
story. But one of the stories of Noah is that he was like a builder.
mm,
My father used to say, man, he said, there's two type of people. He said, there's speculators and there's builders. He said, son, which one are you? You have to think about it. And I said, well, I'm a builder. So
yeah,
that means I got to think. Therefore, I am. I got to build. I got to be creative. I can't
mm,
speculate. Can't
right,
sit around and just spit.
right.
I got to use my mind to build. Now at that same point, You know, it comes just like with the Masons, you know, that 90-degree angle where that you have to in order to move out horizontally, you got to grow up vertically,
Yes, sir.
you
Yes,
know, in
sir.
order to move out.
Yes,
And
sir.
what happened, and what we see, what happened with the Nation Islam, it went through that transition under that leadership of Imam Muhammad. Where
Yes.
at the Nation Islam, we had went out, we had businesses, everything, man. I mean, good God, we had 60s, 70s, man. We was cooking, man. We had it. You know, we was a nation within a nation, pumping. You know, with many businesses, but many of these businesses, man, we built on quicksand, weak ideas, bad ideas, and not with pure hearts. Okay, so once the Imam diversified, gave it to different people. Now he was trying to make us ascend to arise in a greater conscience, into a greater awareness. Well, but it took time, you know. But he also said that we will come back. He said, but metaphorically, just like the caterpillar and come out as a butterfly. You know, once we grow, once we mature, you use the word mature. You know, they say that that the human being, in the Mosaic lessons, they say that 40, you know, we're supposed to grow, become adults at the age 40. Well, I believe now, you know, then now they add that males, you know, it takes us a little longer, okay? So, you know, you go 45, all right?
Yeah.
So you got under my word, but now I believe, okay, if that's physically, then that can happen spiritually. Well, the Nation of Islam under Muhammad is become into a spiritual maturity. We're supposed to. We got 40 plus years under our belt of under his words, his nourishment, his ideas. And if it's time for us to start to blossom, you know, within our actions, within our deeds. And then what you see is that it will stimulate others. You know, I was parked in the went to try to go to the bank, and I parked in the parking space I really shouldn't park in, but I parked. You know, so when I come out, and my car is blocked by two ladies. You know, but then I'm looking at her, and I'm looking like I know her, so I'm recognizing her. You know, I know she was a woman of faith, you know. And then she's an old lady, so they panicking, you know. So now she trying to look at me, you know, and then calm down her neighbor, you know, her friend that she's working. So that's a man of God. I know him, man. He's a man of God. He's good. He's good. And so what happened? She was giving this old lady food. She needed help, you know, moving the boxes out. So God, you know, man, thank God that I came out in that God conscious mind that I didn't woof at them, say, man, why y'all got my car blocked in? You know, God unfolded opportunities that I could pass the test to be able to help serve them, you know, because it was some big heavy boxes. And what she was doing was giving this lady food, you know, doing God's work. So the God people, you know, and all people, she's a Christian. You know, so God people is in all walks of life. My mother taught me, said in her father's house there was many mansions. Okay. So
How how would you respond to some people who possibly say that if they would say Islam is somewhat of a cult? How would you, if you not Islam, but if you follow a particular set of people and you just believe what they say, that they would probably say that was a cult? How would you respond to that? Because when you say like you use Elijah Muhammad, use Imam Muhammad, how would you respond
because
to
me, people always want me to deny my history. God says in the Quran, he says he sent us all messengers.
that?
He'll send us all somebody to give us something. You know, Elijah Muhammad, what he did, he said, I'm not here to teach you a religion. I'm here to clean you up. So he taught me that to clean me up. And yes, he called that white man a devil. Devil, he was being bad. He was lynching us. He was like being fair. In Islam in America, we say we fought for freedom, justice, and equality. We wanted justice. We
Yeah,
wanted freedom. We wanted equality. That's what Islam stood for. Excuse me.
yeah, yeah. Advancing the cause of freedom, huh?
Yeah, you know. So this is what it represents, and it gave us. It broke us away from the concept that Santa Claus was coming down the chimney.
Mm.
Uh, 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 the Easter bunny lay eggs.
Mm.
No rabbits don't lay no eggs, you know.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
these
that's true.
other fairy tale stories they give us to go with.
Mm.
Now we wonder why these people believe Trump so much. We think it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But you hook them up with all these little fairy tale stories. We put these paganistic ideas. You know, God said in the first commandment, first two commandments said, put up no engraven image of me. I'm a jealous God. So don't put up no image. We put up an image of him. You know, he said, I'm one God. You know, so we do all of what he said do. You know, then I talk about Elijah Muhammad. You know, but calling them the devil, he did no more with the Jews. He called them the Gentiles, the Gentiles.
Mm.
Who else?
He did say, "Come out of
And it wasn't
Israel."
everybody. It wasn't broad. It's just a characteristic.
Mm.
You know, and that characteristic has transcended the Asian man, it's transcended the African American man,
Mm.
it's transcended in all of many of us. We fell into our lowest level. Anybody that's a bigot,
Mm.
that want to limit God, that God is limited onto your faith, your belief. That's being a bigot. I don't care if you're
Mm.
Muslim, Christian, Jew, whatever, you're
Mm.
limited. You know,
Mm.
God's power is a great power. He's all infinite. We can't
Mm.
concede no way.
Mm.
Even Moses, when he struck a rock, 12 strings came out. So he look at least with 12 different pounds. Come on, man.
Mm.
You know, it's time for us to become more mature in our thinking, more rational and more inclusive in our thinking. We look at the diversity of God's beauty at the different colors of the trees, of the different beauty of the flowers. But when it comes to the human being, oh man, that Negro, that coon, that color, whatever, anything but the right thing. But we gotta see ourselves as human beings.
Mm. Yes,
Human
sir.
beings.
Yes, sir.
You know, and then for me, to anybody with criticism, the Quran says, I fear not the criticizer of the criticizer. Hell, they criticize every prophet.
Mm.
So my reliance is not on no human being. Just as freedom comes. And my reliance become on God, my relationship with God. My relationship is closer to me than my jugular vein. That's
Mm.
who guides me. That who's my light. That who's my inspiration. That who feeds me. That is my alpha and my omega. That was before and after.
Yes, it's
And then I talk about his son. His son came with the Quran. So they all taught me Allah. They taught me Islam. They taught me freedom, justice, and equality. Then they told me that I would have friendship in all walks of life, and I have.
he
Everything they
says
told me.
he says the
And
solution
they
is
told me, what is yourself? He said, yourself is a righteous Muslim. What is a Muslim? One who surrenders his will to God.
yeah,
So what's wrong with that?
yeah. The solution is in the application. And in closing, I know time is short for you, but in this book I was reading from Imam, as well as from his father, about his father, different for the sake of being different. The life of the Islamic discipline begins in the area of spiritual tendencies that are most critical. Spiritual tendencies are the emotionality of the human being, the trends that this spirit is subject to follow. These are sometimes manifested in thick, hardened attitudes and cannot live except in that spirit. This explains this kind of spirit we have in our society today, a fixed spirit of disrespect for authority, disrespect for parents, rebellion, defiance, just being different for the sake of being different. If parents try to advise their own children as to what is best for them, the children might say, "Oh, I am entitled to my own opinion." And those who are going along with the modern trend will tell the child parents, "Well, the child has a mind of his own." This is a sign of intelligence, but it is actually a sign of clock and condition, rebellion, and defiance. It is a sign of absence of God's guidance. That's powerful there.
It
That is
is,
really
man.
powerful.
You know, it is. But with wisdom, insight, you can help nudge that guidance. Where that you buy your child maybe a train set. that they can build and they can move. A rector set, something that would use their creative mind, that they could build and then they could see some movement. You know, what's a remote control car? You know, a bike, so they could ride around and get some free air. They can understand what some freedom is. Okay,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
instead of that idiot box and
Yes,
that
sir.
phone, who just come the new idiot box. It consumes up all your time.
Yes,
You know,
sir. Yes, sir.
this is where they come in at, where they say, where surely my life and my death are up for Allah, not the Lord of all the worlds. That means I cannot get that phone all my time. I
Yeah.
cannot get that TV all my time.
Yeah.
You know, it say surely what it say what it says in the Qibla. Turn your attention all to Allah. You know, Jesus, this is the day where I'll come back to the 19th. We got to ascend our consciousness, rise, our awareness, our awakenness, that Christ spirit within us. And we got to nurture that spirit, that we got to nurture that consciousness. I think, therefore I am. You know, it will come through. It was really, you know, I worked. I mean, I've been working with it for 40 years. You know, it works. It works. You know, it says through patience and perseverance, and then hell. There's a point in the Quran that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu, he cried for help. He said, "When will the help of Allah come?" So he's gonna cry for help sometime. You are.
Yes, sir.
But God says stay steady on that course. What did Noah do? We said about Noah in that ark. Noah kept building on that ark. God says what? We don't know. Bring two of every kind, two animals. Bring that physical thought and that material and spiritual thought. Build your ark. Build your heart on good character. So when that flood of confusion, flood of madness that's out here, and you may lose your family, and then Noah cried out for his son. The son said, "No, I'm going to the mountain. I'm going to the government. That thing is going to save me between all this water, this flood of foolishness, flood of passion, flood of dry urges, flood of our monsters, desires running loose and rampant, being free. Freedom comes with responsibility to govern yourself, to arrive. You know, jihad, you know, fight within, that rage within you, that anger, that lust, that greed, that niggerism, that whiteism, that racism, that hatred. Work those things out your heart and your character. Get real, man. Get
Yes, sir.
real.
Yes. Yes. I say this is that character is the outgrowth of one's humanity. The material that has been given to build on our humanity is character. Truth is the cause that impacts, for me, the results of one's reality. Truth cannot be sacrificed to any interest. Interest can be sacrificed to truth. There is something that the Black Caucus say. They have no permanent friends, no permanent enemies. They only have permanent interests. Interest is driven by policy. Policy is driven by interest. Certainly there is one and the same. But when you come to a clear state of mind, when it comes to the seed of potential that has been sowed in each and every one of us, and once we become aware of that potential, we can ascend and rise above.
You know, remind me, man, this the guy that was Words of Wisdom, man, used to come on the radio, man, in the 80s, 70s, 80s. His name was Mitch Gilbert. He used to drop Words of Wisdom, you know, and that was one of those 30-second sound bites of Words of Wisdom.
Man, yes, sir.
That,
Yes,
that,
sir.
that's needed, you know, to help stimulate the mind, you know, because if we can see it, we can achieve it,
Yes,
you
sir.
know. Brother Kevin, man, I always enjoy talking with you, man, but like I'm
Thank you.
traveling, man. I got 3 more states that I got to get through, man.
Good stuff. Thank you, sir.
But
Thank you.
I've been promising you, man, to give me some love sometime, man. I enjoyed it, man. I'm
Yes,
glad
sir.
it was our focus, man. I pray that it stimulates, motivates those that can hear us now and those that will hear us later.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Well, thank you, Brother Amir Muhammad. You just hear from Brother Amir Muhammad, marching forward, breaking in the midst of a pandemic, breaking barriers while moving toward healing. And for me, healing is accountability. And remember, our accountability wants to be stronger, not weaker. And unity is stronger than conflict. Unity is stronger than conflict, and oneness. Oneness is stronger than conflict, and unity is stronger than diversity. Yes, that
Yes,
is it.
sir.
Talk to you.
All right, peace out. Yes,
Peace,
sir.
peace. Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Okay.